at the end of the session and the Q&A session, or if you are joined in from Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, please do leave us comments so that we can check at the end of the session as well. So having said that, today our topic on Let Us Talk It webinar is a very apt one for the situation and the time we are in. The topic is, are you cyber secure? The 7 steps to help you stay safe from hackers and data breaches. During this pandemic, it may seem that cyber criminals have taken a break, but no, they have not. They have more time, it seems, at hand, being at home, trying to do not so great things. So let's learn what steps you need to take, we need to take to keep us and our businesses safe during this time and period. And with us to give this presentation, we have with us Burton Kelso. He's the Chief Tech Expert at Integral. He is also a national speaker and appears as a guest tech expert on TV stations across the country. He loves technology. He reads all the manuals, and he's serious about making technology fun and easy to use for everyone. Oh, that's a rhyming there. So, and also I was talking to him just before the session, and he said one of his passions is helping people and to better the relationship and helping people with technology, helping people at a whole. And that's the reason why he is here today. And we are extremely honored to have you, Burton. And thank you for joining in. Over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. With this whole COVID crisis, it's pretty important to stay on top of cybercrime. I think people think that there's been less robocalls, obviously, since everyone is self-isolating, that cyber criminals really haven't been up to their old tactics, but they have been working in the background. In fact, there's a lot of cyber threats that have been occurring during this COVID crisis, and cybercrime is never going to go away. So it's always important that you take steps, especially during this COVID crisis, in order to make yourself safe. As individuals, and of course, as entrepreneurs, and if we're just regular folks, we're working remotely, which puts us at a little bit more risk as far as all of the cyber threats that are out there. We work for a larger corporation. Normally, we're under the umbrella of our cyber team to help us protect from all of the cyber threats out there. But unfortunately, that's not the case when we're working at home and when we're not under the umbrella of the office. One of the worst things that you want to see when it comes to your computer or your devices is that you've been hacked. And no one wants to deal with that at all. No one wants to have a message that they've been hacked. For many people, it's a sign of failure, that they've actually failed the whole cyber process. And that's not the case. I mean, you have to realize that cybercrime is always changing, and there's multiple threats out there that people need to be aware of. So let's go through some of the multiple threats that are out there that can affect you as far as cybercrime is concerned, because there's a ton. And I'm not going to highlight all of them, but I'm going to highlight the ones that are most prevalent, especially in this COVID crisis, in order that people are falling victim for. And then after we're done, we'll talk about steps in order to make sure that you stay safe. So the first major threat is ransomware. Now, ransomware is the act of when you get a malicious piece of software installed on your computer or devices. What happens is that the ransomware will go through and it will lock up your files on your computer and your devices, or it will encrypt them. And once those files are encrypted, you need a key in order to access your files. But without that key, you're basically just stuck, because there's nothing that you can do in order to retrieve those files back. Nothing at all, which is unfortunate, So you want to avoid ransomware at all costs, because some of the things that people will do is that they will try to pay the ransom in order to get access to their files. But one of the things that you never want to do when it comes to ransomware is to pay the ransom, because basically what that does is that it will make you more of a target to the cyber criminals that are out there. So beware of that when it comes to ransomware. Now, our next threat, if we can get the click going, is malware. Now, what malware basically stands for malicious software. And malware can come in many forms. It can be those fake programs that you see on the internet that say, hey, your computer's running slow. Why don't you download this utility to find out if it will clean up your Windows, Macintosh computer, or even your device. Another way malware works is if you get a plugin or if you get something embedded in your web browser. So all of a sudden your web browser starts redirecting you to specific websites. And so malware, you have to install it. I mean, there's no other way to get around malware. So you want to avoid it. So then our next threat is phishing. And now phishing schemes are pretty big. They're kind of the root of how all cybercrime occurs as far as cybercrime is concerned. So phishing schemes are emails, text, and phone calls that come in the form of someone wanting to get access to your personal information. So you may get an email from your utility company. You may get an email from your local government. You may get an email from your employer asking for important information. But the main thing to remember with ransomware, or not with ransomware, but with phishing schemes, is that you really don't want to react to these emails. You want to verify the source and make sure that that is coming from a legitimate source. So beware of phishing schemes, because if you're going to get hacked, that's probably the way that it's going to occur. And many of your ransomware attacks do come in the form of phishing. So our next one is one that many people aren't familiar with, and that's credential stuffing. Now, credential stuffing is the act of cyber criminals finding your credentials on the dark web. What they can find are your usernames, your email addresses, any important information to get onto your online accounts. Once that happens, cyber criminals will use your existing credentials to log into your accounts. So you see people that have fallen victim to credential stuffing are people that have security devices like Ring. There was an incident with Ring. You also will see that with your streaming accounts. Not necessarily a cyber threat, but if a criminal gets a hold of your streaming account, they can definitely go through and sell your streaming account on the dark web so that cyber criminals can make a little money on your accounts. Same thing with banking accounts. If you've got old password and username information on the internet, cyber criminals will definitely take advantage of that, and they will try to log into your account using credentials that are on the dark web. So that's why it's always important that you go through and you change your passwords and your usernames on a regular basis. And then finally, you've got social media bots that are floating around on the internet. What social media bots do is send out fake news and misinformation. But part of that process of a social media bot or just a regular bot on Facebook, Twitter, which is where they commonly appear, is cyber criminals will steal your social media information. So they'll create a duplicate account on Twitter or say Facebook, and then they'll use your account to put fake information out there. Also, if your social media credentials are floating out on the dark web, they can use credential stuffing to get your social media information and actually commandeer your social media account. So it's very important, again, to make sure that your credentials aren't floating on the dark web to ensure that none of your accounts get hacked or duplicated. Now, social media bots or malicious social media bots and just bots in general on the internet have become so malicious that the FTC is in the US has actually contacted the government to say, hey, this is a problem and we need to make sure that we get this taken care of. So it's very important that you find out if your credentials are floating out on the dark web, and we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. Now, the bad thing about social media, or not social media, about cybercrime is that most of these attacks occur because of you. It's your fault that these threats happen, because cybercrime is socially engineered. It means that these malicious actions occur because cyber criminals take the time to find out ways in order to trick you and get you to react to specific posts that occur. So if there is a threat out there, or if there is if there's an email that comes through, even a phone call, the goal of the social media or the cyber criminal is to make sure that you react to what's going on, as opposed to thinking about the action. So many of the scams that occur via the phone, it's the police that are sitting outside, or you get the tech support call saying that there is a problem with your computer or device. Even with emails, it's always a fact, or what happens is it's someone saying that there's a problem and that you need to immediately solve it. So it's always preying on your fears and emotions in order to get you to react to specific situations out there. Now, when it comes to cybercrime, one of the facts is that more than 99% of cybercrime relies on human interaction. So as long as you're not clicking on emails or responding to phone calls or text messages, you can stay safe from cybercrime, because it requires on user interaction. Most cyber criminals are focused on large corporations as far as trying to hack in to large corporate accounts, because they know there's a big payout at the end. As far as individuals are concerned, trying to hack into an individual computer is almost like the TV series Storage Wars, where if a criminal gets into your computer, they don't know if the payout is going to be big. So the challenge is that, do we really want to spend the time to try to break into these accounts? It's easier to trick people to give up their information. So that's why you see large corporations get hacked to get access to user data. That's why you see the large amount of spam messages out there. And that's why you see cyber criminals go on the dark web in order to retrieve your information, because it's easier to get your information rather than to try to hack into your individual devices. So always remember that it requires human interaction. So as long as you're not clicking on stuff, you're going to be safe out there. Now, knowledge is power. It's always important to make sure that you educate yourself as far as all the cyber threats are out there, because knowledge is the one thing that is going to make sure that you stay protected from all of the threats out there. So what can you do? Well, let's start with our 7 steps. So number 1 is one of my favorites. That's to become a cyber liar. It's kind of like the old Pinocchio story out there. You want to lie about yourself when you're online. You don't have to be truthful about when you fill out the password retrieval information system, as far as where you went to school, what your birthday is, what your mother's maiden name is. Lie about all that information, because the challenge is that we're sharing that information on social media already. So it doesn't take much for a cyber criminal to look at your social media accounts and say, man, all this information about this person is there. So if I need to go in and reset a password for an online account, all I have to do is look at the information on social media and gather a profile about this person. It's not that hard. So it's a really good idea to become a cyber liar in a sense. And if you can do it, to make sure that you are not sharing too much personal information out there. Now, if you're just a lowly individual, you can create a fake name on social media to interact with people. I know celebrities get into the act of doing it, but it's not bad for you to create an online alias of yourself for your social media accounts. Now, if you're, say, an influencer, that may be more of a challenge, because you obviously want your name or your company name to be a brand. But there are other things that you can do to kind of make sure that your account is obscure. And that's, like I said before, to make sure that you aren't sharing personal information when it comes to password resets, when you're filling out your personal profile, birthdays, city locations, all of that stuff. You want to keep vague, because online it really doesn't matter what city you're listed in, or any of that information's out there. You just want to create the account so that you can interact with people. So make sure that you become a cyber liar and don't share too much personal information online. Other things you want to watch out for, or when sites or when people gather information about you, you always want to look at the terms of service when you sign up for any app or any online service, because you don't know what information is being collected. And some of the information that's collected can be used in order to sell your data to other data miners or vendors out there that want your personal information. But beware of the information that you are sharing online, because that can definitely lead to your account getting hacked and to getting your personal information stolen as well. Again, phishing schemes are huge. So make sure that you're not falling for any phishing schemes out there. Be careful of the information that is being asked when you get a phone call or when you get an email or a text message, because if you voluntarily give up that information, it's definitely an act where people can get your personal information. So make sure that you're not sharing too much information online. And then always keep on top of the scams and the hoaxes, because in this data age, there are a ton of scams out there as far as quick get rich schemes where people are saying that you can make tons of money by signing up for something, or even hoaxes that are out there. Like, I know the big hoax right now is, and it's not necessarily a cyber threat, but at the same time, it can put you out exposed to a bunch of people. And that is the you can reset or bypass Facebook hoax. It's a hoax. There's no way to bypass Facebook at all. So when it comes to scams, when it comes to hoaxes, you can always visit Snopes.com to verify the scams and the hoaxes out there to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. So number two, you want to find out if your information has been compromised, because if you don't know, it can definitely cost you in the long run. So there's several places that you can go to find out if your information has indeed been compromised on the internet. So one of those websites is a website called Have I Been Pwned, or Pwned, excuse me, haveibeenpwned.com. Once you go to this website, you can find out if you've been pwned. If you've been pwned, and I've gone, let's go forward because I goofed up. There we go. Have I been pwned? So if you go to Have I Been Pwned, and let's see if I can go to the website and kind of show you how this website works. So I'm going to bring over Have I Been Pwned, and what you would do is type in your email address, whether it be work or your personal address. And I'm typing in an email address right now, and I hope you all can see this. So if I type in this email address and hit the word pwned on there, then it will do a search and let me know if the email address has been a result of multiple data breaches out there. And if it has, the things that you want to do is to make sure that you change your password for your online accounts to make sure that that password has not been part of a data breach, and also if that email address has been a data breach. It's kind of hard to change your email addresses out there, but the other thing that you have to watch out for is the password. So make sure that if that password has been part of a data breach, you make sure that you don't make that password or use that password again. Another website that you can go to is fightingidentitycrimes.com. Now, this website will not search the dark web for you, but what Fighting Identity Crimes does is that it will allow you to see if companies that you've worked with in the past have been part of a large-scale data breach. And that's important because you may see in the news that there are companies out there that have been part of data breaches, but that isn't necessarily the case that they're going to report that they have been breached. So the important thing to know is if a company you've dealt with has been breached. So when you go to fightingidentitycrimes.com, you want to go to the breaches and scams web portion. And from there, it'll show you data breaches going back to 2012, which is almost 10 years. And so the goal is to go and find out if a company that you've worked with has been breached. And the good thing about fighting identity crimes is that the site will show you what information was leaked in a data breach, and they'll also give you steps that you need to take if your information has been leaked in a breach. So check out fighting identity crimes and make sure that your information has not been leaked out on the internet. So number 3, since we're talking about data breaches and passwords, is to make sure that you improve your password protection. And my personal opinion, and the opinion of many others out there, is to create passphrases for your passwords as opposed to using the old standard password. Now, the advantage of using a passphrase is understanding that when you create a password, you're utilizing words and information that kind of ties itself to you. When you use a passphrase, you're basically selecting 2 different words to create a secure password. So in all of the seminars that I've given as far as a passphrase, one of my favorite ones would be stinky chicken, and then maybe add 2020 to it. In doing so, I don't look like a stinky chicken, and there's nothing to me that relates to stinky chicken. So it's a word that no one's going to associate with me, so no one can really go out and guess my password. So a passphrase is something that you can use, and you can look at the slide to kind of see some examples of passphrases that are there. There are words like mashups or matrix. You could put mashup matrix as your password. You can use guideline enter or crimeware boolean. I mean, it's just different words that you can combine together in order to create a passphrase rather than using your standard old password. And I keep going back on my slide, so forgive me because my mouse is, this darn mouse is getting away from me. So remember, passphrases. Next, make sure that A, you're not recycling your old passwords, and B, make sure that you're using different passwords for your online accounts. Part of the challenge with passwords is that if we forget a password and we go to reset it, we'll reuse an old password. Well, the problem with that is that a password that we use can be sitting on the dark web. So if we go and recycle that password, then we're basically allowing cyber criminals to get access to our accounts again because we've gone back to an old password. One of the things that you also want to do is to make sure that you're using different passwords for all of your online accounts. When you use different passwords or passphrases for all your online accounts, you lessen the chance that a cyber criminal will be able to access all of your accounts. True story. I know multiple people that we deal with at Interval every day that use the same passwords for all of their online accounts. When cyber criminals get a hold of your password by finding your information on the dark web, they'll normally start small. They'll start off by accessing your social media accounts to see if they can log on to those. And then they'll graduate and start accessing more important financial accounts like your bank, your credit card. And then once they're able to log into those, obviously they'll be able to manipulate your financial data. So it's always important to use different passwords for all of your online accounts and not to reuse your old passwords. Two-factor authentication or two-step authentication is very important when it comes to all of your online accounts. If you're not familiar with this process is, it's a matter of making sure with your online accounts that if someone logs into your account, that you'll get a notification on your phone that someone's trying to access your account. Now, when you get the authenticator, you can either confirm that it's you that's logging into your account, or you can deny that it was you. And in doing so with the two-step or two-factor authentication, it will deny the cyber criminal access to your account. So no matter what online account you have, make sure that you're setting up two-step or two-factor authentication to make sure that that criminals are getting access to your stuff. Set it up today, right now, if you can, as far as two-step. And then password keepers are very important too, because with all of the passwords that we have to memorize, it's important that you have a system in order to keep all of those passwords in check. Now you can go out and purchase a password keeper like you see on this screen, or you could use an old dictionary to store those passwords in. And also, you could get a password keeper program such as LastPass and store those passwords and have them have the program automatically log into your online accounts. Another method that is somewhat popular but unpopular is to save those passwords in your favorite browser. So it doesn't matter if you use Safari, Opera, Chrome, Firefox, or even Microsoft Edge. You have the ability to allow your browser to save your passwords in there. Is it safe? Sort of, kind of, but it's better to have your passwords saved in your browser, or those different online passwords saved in your browser, than to use the same password for all of your online accounts. It's just not safe. So use a method and make sure that you are creating safe passwords for your accounts. And that way you can minimize your risk as far as falling victim to cybercrime. So tip number 4 is you want to set up an automatic backup system for all of your devices. It doesn't matter what you're using. If you're using a tablet or a smartphone like I use, or even a laptop computer, I love holding these things up because it kind of gives a little visual out there. But it doesn't matter what you're using. If you have a smart device, you need to have some sort of backup in place. If your device gets hit with ransomware or just plain system failure, a backup will save all of that important data out there, because that's why we have these devices. I mean, some of us have them to showboat them off, but at the same time, our devices have data on it. So it's very important to make sure that you have a method to back up your devices. Now, if you have a laptop computer, and I love holding this thing up. Yeah, if you have a laptop, you can definitely get an external hard drive for your laptop computer. Doesn't matter if it's a Windows or a Apple device. If you have a Windows computer, you can use file history to back up your information. If you're using a Macintosh computer, then there's good old Time Machine that will back up that information for you. But the challenge is that when you have a laptop with you, if you are going to go to your favorite whatever and work remotely, you're going to open up your laptop and start working. The last thing you're going to think about is plugging in your external hard drive to back up your information. Now, if you're on a desktop computer, that's a different story, because your computer is set in the same location all the time. So you can easily plug in an external hard drive and have it run all the time. But if you're mobile, it just doesn't work. And external hard drives don't really come for smartphones either. So my recommendation is to use some form of cloud backup for all of your devices. The good thing about cloud backup, if you get the right backup service, is that it is always backing up your information. So once you install it, it automatically sends that information to the cloud. So there are 2 sets of cloud backup out there. You've got, well, cloud services, I should say. So you've got cloud storage, which is basically what these items are. iCloud, OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox are what's considered cloud storage service. That means that these devices or these services are geared and designed to make sure that you can access your data from anywhere in the world. That's it. Not really designed to back up your information. Except for OneDrive and Google Drive do have a feature called backup and sync, but it necessarily doesn't work where you have redundancy in place, and that's what you want. So there's OneDrive backup and sync, if I can get that slide to stay up. And then also, like I said, there's Google backup and sync. It backs up your information in the sense that it will take that information off of your devices. So if you've got OneDrive, it'll back up that information off your computer and store it in the cloud. Same thing with Google backup and sync. If you've got a Google phone or even an iPhone like I do, it will back up that information and store it in another location. But there's no redundancy. So it really can't be called a backup, because a backup has to have redundancy, meaning that you've got multiple sets of backup that are stored either on your external hard drive or on your cloud backup service. So with that said, probably 2 of the best services to use out there would be Carbonite and Backblaze. There we go. So Carbonite and Backblaze are 2 cloud backup services that offer redundancy. Both of them cost about, I would say $85 a year for unlimited backup. The difference is Backblaze lets you pay monthly. Carbonite, they want their money all up front, but you get unlimited data storage on your computers. I don't make Carbonite and Backblaze for smart devices, so you would have to rely on a Google Backup and Sync for your smartphone. Not OneDrive, but Google Backup and Sync would work, and of course iCloud for your Apple devices to get some form of backup so that your information is stored. But for your computers, Carbonite and Backblaze are good options to use. So number 5 is you want to protect and manage your mobile device. So it doesn't matter if you've got a smartphone, a laptop, or even a tablet, you want to make sure that you're protecting your device from hackers out there. Now, the good thing about most mobile devices is that you can put a password on it and protect your information. And I highly recommend for people to do that in order to make sure that your personal data is safe. Because most of us have graduated to using smartphones and tablets. And if we were to lose our device, cyber criminal or even just a regular criminal would have access to our whole world. So always, 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 if you have a mobile device, whether it be a smartphone or, let me grab it again, a laptop, make sure that you put a password on it to make sure that your information is safe. Also, encryption is key in this mobile age, especially in this COVID age if we're working from home. If you're working on your mobile device, it's easy to encrypt your device by just putting a password on it. So it doesn't matter if you put a numerical or text password on your iPhone or you do the pattern password on your Android device, you will encrypt that device. So it'll make it pretty hard for someone to get access to your device if you were to lose it. So if you have a BYOD policy at your office, meaning bring your own device, or you're working on company information at home, it is a good idea to encrypt your devices. It doesn't matter what device you have, you want to encrypt it. If you're using a Windows computer at home, you want to use BitLocker to encrypt your Windows computer. If you have a Macintosh computer, then you can utilize FileVault to make sure that your information is encrypted on your Macintosh device. Now, both are included for the exception. If you're using Windows 10 Home, BitLocker is not included with Windows 10 Home. You have to have Windows 10 Professional in order to utilize BitLocker on your Windows device. But as far as FileVault for Mac, FileVault's included on all versions of Macintosh computers, so you definitely can utilize FileVault. But if you're working from home, you never know if there's going to be home invasion, or if you have a mobile or a laptop. I don't know why I'm calling it mobile, because that's the whole purpose of a laptop. You want to make sure that you encrypt that device. You don't know when someone's going to break in, and if it's mobile, you don't know if you're going to lose it when you're out and about. So make sure you encrypt that device so no one can get access to it. Now, as far as your data is concerned, I can go back a few slides and kind of show you. This isn't actually encryption, but this is what encryption is going to look like when you encrypt your device. It's basically going to scramble up all your data. So if someone gets a hold of that device, it'll make it so that no one can access your stuff. So tip number 6 is to make sure that when you're working on unsecured networks, that you're working with caution. So with social distancing, there's not many of us that are using Wi-Fi zones or using Wi-Fi hotspots, but in some areas you are. And it's not to say that you can't use Wi-Fi. It's saying that you need to be cautious when you're using Wi-Fi. So if you're using a Wi-Fi hotspot or a Wi-Fi zone as far as connecting up your phone and your computer, you just want to verify with the proprietor of the business that you're at that you're actually connecting to the business's hotspot. Because pre-COVID, and I'm sure there's a little bit of that going on now, cyber criminals would set up shops in busy areas and set up fake Wi-Fi in order to trick people to connect to those devices in order to access their data. and it doesn't take much to set up a fake Wi-Fi hotspot. So always verify before you use that free Wi-Fi that you actually are connecting to the right Wi-Fi. Other things that you can do too, let's just say you absolutely have to connect to Wi-Fi because of a limited data plan, or you just need it in a pinch and you don't have a hotspot. Utilize non-critical data when you're connected to that wireless information. So let's just say if you're going to use it to stream movies or watch YouTube or just browse the web, you can definitely utilize free Wi-Fi to do that. If you have to use free Wi-Fi, one of the best things to do would be to enable a VPN. There's several VPNs out there, and just for you, of those that are watching, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. What it does is it creates a tunnel that allows your information to be transmitted over the internet without cyber criminals peering at your data. And there's two popular VPNs out there. There's TunnelBear and NordVPN. Both VPN services will work on any device. Doesn't matter if it's a computer, tablet, or a smartphone. You can get TunnelBear and NordVPN to work on your device. You will have to pay a little bit of money each month because there is data rates that work with paid VPNs, but trust me, it's probably one of the safer ways to surf if you have to use free Wi-Fi out there. Another instance that you can use as far as VPN, both Firefox and Opera have VPN services, free VPN services built into them. Now, the difference between, say, the firewall or the VPN, built into TunnelBear and NordVPN is Nord and TunnelBear protect your entire device. So it doesn't matter which application you're using on your device, TunnelBear and Nord are going to make sure that it's safe and secure. Now, if you were to utilize the free VPN software built into Opera and Firefox, what is going to happen is that any web searches that you utilize will be protected with the VPN built into Opera and Firefox. So if you're going to use a program like Outlook or any other program outside of a web browser that connects to the internet, your free VPN in Opera and Firefox aren't going to protect you. But if you're just doing web-based searches, then Opera and Firefox are probably good tools to utilize. Now, the most secure way to stay connected to the internet when you're out and about is to get a mobile hotspot. Now, a mobile hotspot can be utilized like the device on screen, or it can be utilized within your smartphone. But the reason hotspot is so secure is that it is a two-way connection directly with your cellular provider, which means that cyber criminals would have to hack in to your cellular provider's network to get access to your data, which ain't gonna happen because T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T have gobs and scores of people that's their job, is to protect their network. So if you have to work out and about and you have to be secure, get a mobile hotspot to make sure that your information is gonna stay safe and secure when you're working mobilely. And in some instances, that may be your only choice because your internet's not that great. So our final tip, keep your devices and software protected and up to date. Very important. Tell you a story about those software updates. Yes, they are a pain in the butt. No one wants to deal with that, but you've got to keep these devices up to date. Reason being is because in the hacker community, most hardware and software manufacturers will put out what's called a bug bounty on all of their devices. So the bounty is that if you can find and exploit holes in our software or hardware, we will award you a bounty. And some bounties are pretty lucrative, so it is very encouraged, or cyber criminals are very encouraged, and just hackers are encouraged to find exploits in software and hardware. So once an exploit is found in a particular piece of hardware or software, then a patch is issued and we get the bounty reward in the patch that is downloaded to our device. So when you see those security patches downloaded to your devices, it's because an exploit has been discovered in your device, and you want to make sure that you download the patch. So again, doesn't matter what you are using, get the download and get it immediately, and make sure you're up to date. So if you're using Windows, yeah, you need to be using Windows 10, because if you're using 7, it's just not supported anymore. Same thing with Windows 8, ain't supported. You may think it's supported, but it ain't. So if you're using 7 or 8, you need to upgrade to 10. And I'll tell you a secret. You can still get Windows 10 for free if you've got a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 device. It's in most instances, if your device is capable of running Windows 7 or Windows 8, you can run Windows 10 easily. Obviously, you want to make sure that your old software will work with 10, but in that same note, you know, you need to get it in order to make sure that you're getting those updates that are going to keep you safe and secure from all the data breaches out there. Now, as far as Macintosh users are concerned, you can go and get Catalina for free. Apple updates their operating system once a year. And one of the main things that happens with most Macintosh users is that for a while there, you didn't have automatic updates installed in your operating system. So now if you were to get High Sierra, it will start to enable automatic updates and download it. So as Mac users, you've got 3 options as far as operating systems, and that will change in the fall when the new Mac operating system comes out next month. So currently, Catalina is the most current version of Mac OS. But you can also download Mojave or High Sierra if you are using an older version of Mac OS. So go to the App Store and make sure that your Mac is up to date, because, like I said, for Mac users, Macs usually run so smooth that you may ignore those updates because you don't think you need them, but you do. So download it and make sure you got the latest and greatest running on your Mac. As far as antivirus protection, it's built into your Macintosh computer. So there's no need to download any extra utilities on your Macintosh computer. Same thing with your Windows computer. You definitely don't need to download any of those pesky programs like Norton or Kaspersky or Avast or AVG, because Windows Defender's got it all built in, and it's free, and it'll automatically protect yourself. So any extras that you see, you definitely don't need to add that in, because it'll always, on both Mac and Windows, will make sure your device is protected. Same thing for smartphones. I don't have a screen for smartphones, but if you got a smartphone, the main way that you're going to get hacked on your smartphone is if you download a malicious app from the App Store. So when it comes to apps, read the reviews and make sure that you're not downloading any app that could be a virus, and make sure that you check the reviews. And for Apple, you're probably not going to get a virus on your device, because Apple does a good job of scanning it. Android, not so much. So really, you Android users out there need to really be careful as far as stuff that you're downloading on your device. As far as more updates, you got Android 10 is the latest version for your Android device. And Apple users, iOS 13 is what you want to get for your smartphones and tablets. Obviously, iOS 14 is coming out soon, but if you've got an older version of iPhone iOS, you want to download 13 as soon as you can. The bad news is if you've got an older device that can't get any of these updates, it's probably time for you to get a new device, because you're just putting yourself at risk. Free email, there's a ton of them out there, but you really want to be cautious when you're using free email, because free email can be the source of data breaches. So if you're using AOL, Yahoo, Outlook.com, any of the free services out there, even Gmail, those services are targeted by cyber criminals because there's millions of users that utilize those emails. So make sure that you have your spam settings set up if you're using a free email service. Now, if you're a business user or a small business user, you want to go out and use a domain name for your company, so that you're branding your company and not the free email service. But you're also putting your business at risk if you're using a free email service. Now, free email is great, but you just really have to be cautious to the emails that come in, because a lot of your phishing schemes will come through a free email service. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. If you can't, you just need to take extra caution and make sure that you are staying safe. And if you had a keen ear during this webinar, you probably heard my Amazon device go off in the background. When you're working from home, be sure you're aware of your Amazon devices. I obviously can't say the activation word, but I've got Amazon Show device sitting right next to me. But if you're working next to these devices, you want to either unplug them or mute them, because these devices are always listening. Doesn't matter if you have Google Home, Amazon, or Amazon Show, or a Google Home Show. These devices are constantly listening into your conversations. So if you're having, I guess, secure or private conversations, make sure that your work conversations, make sure you're not doing it in front of your Amazon devices, because those are recording your every word and being uploaded to Google and Amazon. Now, there's a way that you can log onto the Amazon app and to the Google app, and you can tell it not to record your conversations. And I highly recommend that you do that for just general purposes, because you never know what you're going to say in your own home. So make sure that you are making sure your devices are, they're going to either not recording you, or if they are recording you, make sure that you're deleting your transactions off of your Amazon and Google accounts. If you're out and about still, make sure that you aren't falling victim for shoulder surfers. That comes from PIN numbers when you're shopping, comes from putting your PIN number in your smartphone. Even if you're working remotely, make sure that no one's surfing over your shoulder to steal your personal information. Same thing with your devices. Device theft is still high. Password protect your device. But if your device is stolen, make sure that you have enabled Find My Device or Find My iPhone enabled on your computer and on your Apple devices. All devices have Find My Device features. Trust me, I had an instance where my wife lost her iPhone, left it at the store. Using my iPhone, I was able to track her device within 5 feet of where the device is. So these settings and these settings on your smart devices actually work. So enable them so that you can track down your smart devices if they are stolen or lost. And finally, when it comes to cybercrime, ask for help. There is so much information out there that don't think that you know everything about cybercrime. Make sure that you ask for help so that if you get stuck with something, that you can find an expert like myself to help you navigate this tricky maze of cybercrime. So to sum things up, when it comes to cybercrime, it basically boils down to you educating yourself and making sure that you are that you understand what threats are out there, and also that you're not interacting with the multiple spam emails, calls, and text messages that come through. Remember, 99% of cybercrime requires human interaction. So as long as you're not clicking on stuff or giving out your information voluntarily over the phone or via text messages, you're going to stay safe from most of the cyber threats out there. And make sure that you educate yourself on the latest scams and hoaxes out there as well, so that you don't become victim to that. So with that said, that's my information. I'm Burton Kelso, the tech expert. I love technology. I've read all the manuals, and I'm serious about making technology, it says exciting and useful, but basically easy to use for everyone out there. So you can follow me on social media, or you can email me at burton@callintegralnow.com. So with that said, I guess if there's any questions out there, would love to answer any questions that we have from anyone.
Yeah, Burton, it was a wonderful talk. The computer security, the data security, and cyber security and prevention against intrusion is a constantly evolving topic. And if there is anything that keeps us awake in the night, this is one important topic. And I am very happy that we were able to cover every nook and cranny of the topic with various guide points on how to protect oneself. Okay?
I appreciate that, yes.
But the point to note here is that as we are getting smarter with the cyber crimes, prevention of cyber crimes, the criminals are also getting smarter. And this problem is getting sometimes undetected, and then it attacks you at the most unguarded moment. Now, a case in point is our national elections that are coming up in 2020 November. And already the government is saying that both Russia, China, and Iran are there trying to play into our cyber area and trying to influence the election results. So this is at the global level. It is a constant challenge, and we may have to live with that like the way we have to live with the virus called the coronavirus. And my question to you, Burton, is you were mentioning about LastPass for storing passwords. But then time and again, we have seen even these sites are getting attacked and intruded upon. And then once a repository like LastPass gets attacked, all our passwords are in the criminals' hands. How do we prevent this?
Well, with LastPass, if you were to use that service, supposedly your password information is encrypted. So let's say they get into LastPass, they would probably be able to see user accounts, but they wouldn't be able to see user data. It's almost like maybe the cloud backup services out there, like say Carbonite or Backblaze. So they may be able to get into like your Carbonite account or get into Carbonite's computers, but at the same time, as far as the information is concerned, it's encrypted. So they wouldn't be able to see they're supposedly you're not able to see like personal files and stuff when you've got it on a cloud backup service. But back to your question about the whole password thing. I mean, if that is a concern, probably one of the best methods as far as keeping passwords is either store it on your password protected smart device, or obviously you would have to utilize an old school method like saving your passwords like in a book or something that you keep on your person so that you can remember what all of your online passwords are. One of the other options that you can utilize that will keep it on your device is if you turn off the synchronization of Google or Firefox when it synchronizes your data between devices as far as browser, you could just store that password information within the browser file on your computer, provided that it is password protected. So when you automatically tell that site to log you in, it's pulling data from your device as opposed to the web and signing you in. But local is always good when it comes to passwords. But obviously, I think the key thing as far as when it comes to password storage, like LastPass, or even storing your information in your web browser, is the convenience of storing multiple passwords in that service. So the ideal is to get people where they're not frustrated by having to remember multiple passwords, and setting up a system where they can have different passwords on those online accounts in order to kind of help stem the fact that you have people that have multiple accounts compromised because they're using one password for all of those online accounts. So I would say, you want to use something that makes you feel comfortable. Obviously, probably the best method is to keep all of that information offline, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're using different passwords for all of your online accounts. And one other thing I was going to state about the cybercrime as far as the elections are concerned, a lot of that has to do with bots and the malicious social media bots that are pumping out the negative news out there. So as far as the election's concerned, make sure that you're getting your information from a credible source and not relying so much on social media from the news that you read.
Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
Yes, Burton, excellent presentation. And the best part is that you did not only say the problem, say the attacks, but you also gave effective measures to protect and to be safe. So thank you so much. So any other question? Please unmute and ask. I see Debbie Miller.
Up, Debbie.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, this is
Hi,
Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
So any thoughts, comments, questions for, I hope you know him.
Oh, yes. I've met Burton. Oh, I can't figure out how to undo my video, but anyway, I've known Burton for a while and enjoy learning about technology. Since I'm trying not to be technically challenged and get my business built online.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining in. And yeah. Chandu, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Gina. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Burton, for the very for the information. I don't have any questions, but I would like to thank you for one thing you have coined, that howIfound.com. When you coined that term, I just went to my website and I searched my personal mail address, and I came to know that my password is compromised, and I just changed my password. And thank you so much for that.
Oh, no
And
problem.
I also want you people to go to howIfound.com and you can check your passwords got compromised or not.
Yeah, the other critical site too, obviously, is fighting identity crimes. I don't think a lot of people realize how important that site is, because there's a ton of companies that are breached every month. And so if you go to fighting identity crimes, you can definitely go and check and see. If you go to the breaches and scams section and go to breaches we're tracking, you can find out companies that have been hacked. Like, I know this sounds, I'm trying to, like Avon, for example. You wouldn't think a lot of people are using Avon, but at the same time, 19 million accounts were hacked last month with Avon, and none of this hit the news. So addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, email, and even home addresses and GPS coordinates were leaked for 19 million people, but you don't read about this in the news. Ancestry.com is kind of another one that I think made news. 60,000, which may not seem not a lot, but email addresses were leaked. And so it's, it's all this information that is being gathered on the dark web and being sold. So it's a little by little that they have this information out there. So the ones like Twitter, like that happened in June, those are the ones that make large news. It's not the smaller companies that get breached that make it out there. Like GoDaddy had 28,000 accounts hacked last month, or not last month, but back in May. So it's a good idea to go to Fighting Identity Crimes and look at this information to verify that your information hasn't been leaked in a data breach.
Yeah, thank you so much, Burton.
No
And there is
problem.
one feature in Chrome also, Chrome browser, where we can check our passwords are compromised also. Maybe most of the people use Chrome browser. Maybe you can check that out, the feature.
Yes, there is a utility in Chrome. You can download a plugin, which is the Google Password Checkup extension. Now, the Google Password Checkup extension will allow you to have this utility scour the dark web to see if any password that you're using is being used on or is listed on the dark web. So now what's going to happen is the Google Password Checkup extension is integrated into Chrome. So you can download the extension, or like was said earlier, you can use Chrome, and Chrome, the browser itself, automatically will find out if any password that you're using is being listed on the dark web, and then you get notified if that password is being used. So another good reason to switch to Chrome, because none of the other web browsers out there are doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Well, I think we've answered all the questions so far, but yeah, if you have any more, or if you're too scared, just reach out to me on social media, or email me at the email address burton@callintegralnow.com.
Absolutely, Burton. Thank you so much, Srini Barot. Thank you. And thank you from our LetUsTalkIt team. And we have an exciting topic for tomorrow's webinar as well. August 12th, we have from 12 to 1 p.m. EST, we have role of data engineering in AI. And if you have any questions, any feedback, comments, if you want to present, if you know somebody who wants to present, please email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. And with that, we conclude this session. Thank you so much, Burton, for your time and your and all the information that you put it out there. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you, audience, for joining in as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.